Alright, hello everybody. Not really sure who's going to be watching this, but I'm just going to give it a shot. Bear with me because I'm not very tech savvy, and this is my first time doing a video, so yeah, just bear with me. I figured doing a video would be a lot easier than trying to type everything out because, let's face it, a lot has happened in the past month. Moving over to Australia and just kind of getting used to everything and whatnot, so saves me a lot of typing, and I like to talk, so this shouldn't be too hard for me to do. So I think basically I'll just start with the flight over and kind of go from there. I think that I was really worried about the flight actually. So the total flight hours was about 19 and a half, 20 hours. I left from Chicago and flew from Chicago to Los Angeles, which was like four and a half hours. And then from Los Angeles to Melbourne, which was like 15 hours-ish, give or take. So that was the part I was really the most nervous about. I kept texting Corey and I'm like, I'm worried I'm not going to have stuff to do. Like, they're not going to have movies and stuff, and I'm going to go crazy because, I mean, personally it's hard for me to sit still, as you can probably tell. It's really hard for me to sit still and just kind of focus and just be in one place for 15 hours. So I was kind of freaking out about it, but Corey reassured me. He's like, oh no, there's actually good movies and stuff on there, and I was still apprehensive, so I downloaded a couple movies onto my laptop just in case. But once I got on the flight, the one from Chicago to Los Angeles, it was terrible. It was cramped and I hated it. But once I got into the international flight, it was totally different. Like, I'll post pictures, but the seats, you had way more room. It was a really nice new airplane. I flew United, both domestic and my international flight. And I don't know, I just really liked it. There was plenty of movies and stuff that you could watch for free. It was all free. And they were like up-to-date movies and up-to-date shows and stuff. So I had plenty of things to keep me busy. I brought some NyQuil on board, so I took that. Like, my flight left at 10:30 at night, my international one. So it was actually kind of good timing with like my sleep schedule and whatnot. So I took some NyQuil after a little bit and kind of was in and out of sleep for a few hours, I think. They served you dinner and breakfast on it as well. They were just both kind of like microwave meals, like little warmed up things. You got a choice of, I think, like a chicken or a vegetarian option for the dinner, and then the breakfast was just kind of like microwaved eggs and whatever, but it was fine. You didn't really think about eating on there because you're just kind of hanging out, and yeah, I don't know. I had a glass of wine like halfway through the flight because it was free, and so that kind of helped me sleep too. Also, a good tip that my friend Macy told me was to bring little things like a toothbrush and face wash and stuff. So I got up during the flight a couple times and just like went and washed my face and freshened up. And also a good tip I learned was to bring a change of clothes. I brought just like a new shirt and like new underwear and a bra to put on just because, like, I don't know, I was flying for so long and it kind of felt nice to freshen up and change and just be comfortable for that long of a flight, and kind of broke things up just to get up and walk around and whatnot. So yeah, that wasn't too bad. Once I got done with the flight, landed, I didn't really realize, also I knew that I wasn't going to get cell phone service because it's in a new country and whatnot, and I can't like just call internationally. So, but I could use iMessage because that's just by the internet. And so when I landed, I was just going to try and get the free Wi-Fi for the airport, but I didn't realize when I was trying to log into the Wi-Fi, I didn't know the zip code. They required you to type in a zip code just for the airport Wi-Fi, which I don't know why, but so I had asked some people walking next to me. I was just like, hey, do you guys know what the zip code is for around here? They were some really nice Australians, so luckily they told me a zip code of just Melbourne in general, and so I typed that in and got Wi-Fi and texted Corey and told him that I landed, and I was getting in at like 7:30, so the airport really was well, it was kind of busy. It was just kind of picking up. But I was able to text him, and it took me a while actually to get through customs because all of the international flights kind of came in at that time, I guess. So there were a lot of people waiting in the lines for customs, and you had to take your passport, you had to scan it, and it had to do like a face match. Then you had to go wait in another line to have it take your picture and like match that with your photo, and then you had to go wait in another line to have like the customs officers, whatever, talk to you and scanning through, and so that took a little while, and then I had to wait and have my like stuff checked and whatnot. But yeah, got through customs, found Corey, and yeah, I will never forget the first time I walked up to the car and saw a car with like the driver's side, or the steering wheel, whatever, on the opposite side. I walked up to the car and I was like, oh my gosh, this is kind of weird. Like, I don't know, this is freaking me out, because I knew that was the thing, but I had never actually seen it before, and I don't know. So got in the car, and just when we were driving back, obviously it's on the opposite side of the road too, driving through the city, so I'm just like in awe. I was just sitting there and watching and trying to take everything in and looking at the city at the same time. But I was also really, really excited to see Corey, so I was just really giddy. But yeah, so after that we just drove home. In the beginning of being here, we're staying at his mom's house, so that was like 40 minutes, I'd say, from the airport, so we went straight there. Yeah, just kind of went home and hung out and took a breather and unpacked my stuff, and yeah. Oh, fish and chips is definitely a thing. I think that's what we had the first night, if I'm remembering correctly. So chips is what we call French fries, and it's just, they're everywhere. They have little fish and chips stores everywhere here, and it's just takeout. You just call it in, and it's just like fried fish. You can get it grilled or fried, I believe, and they call it flake. So I got that and some fries or chips, so fish and chips, and that was kind of a go-to meal and easy to feed a lot of people, and everybody around here seems to like it. It's kind of a thing that they do. Like, we have fish fry Fridays kind of by us in Wisconsin, I guess, but they, yeah, I guess that could be their version of it. But, so the second day, I think it was, or third day, Corey and his mom had to go back to work. Obviously, it was during the week, so I knew that I needed to get a move on with my nursing application, because I was going to have to get my nursing application transferred over, or my nursing license and registration, transferred over from America to Australia. So I figured out how to do public transportation. I walked to the bus stop. I hopped on the bus. I had to use Corey's mom's little like scan card to pay for the fare. And I went down and took the train into the city. Yeah, so kind of the distance that Kenosha is from, like, I guess it's a little closer from like downtown Chicago. It's kind of the same thing. Like, you hop on the train and it's like a 30-minute train ride, I think, into the city. Super easy to do though. So I did that, and I kind of just had my phone and navigated down to the big nursing office. It's called Australia Health Practitioner Regulation Agency, so APRA is what they call it. Well, I say APRA, but the Australian way to say it is APRA. So I went down there, talked to them, got the right forms that I needed to fill out for my nursing application, and kind of just walked around and did some shopping. One thing I noticed, well, a couple things I noticed down there, is that, and Corey had warned me about this, not warned me, but told me about this before I got there. So it's normal for us to walk on the right side of the aisle or the street or something, but over here it's normal for people to walk on the left side of the street, so it's kind of flipped. So I caught myself like walking on the wrong side and running into people, and they probably thought I was so rude because I was just walking on the wrong side, but it's definitely something I needed to learn. Oh, another thing. Australians have very good style. Like, I was walking around downtown here and everybody was just dressed really nice. And I know when you go into the city, like in the Chicago area, everyone's dressed really like nice, just walking around shopping. You're like, I was in like my Vans and some jeans and a sweatshirt and what people call a jumper here. A sweatshirt is a jumper. And everybody else is like dressed in cute clothes, walking around shopping and stuff, and I'm just like, okay, hey, it's me, the little American, in my ugly style. But yeah, also clothes are a lot more expensive here too, a lot more expensive. Granted, it might be like the currency, probably the currency difference has something to do with it too, but yeah, stuff is just definitely a lot more expensive here. Some people say that that has to do with the fact that Australia is so far from everything else, and that's kind of its own separate area away from all the other countries and whatnot. So it's more expensive to get goods into here, and so some stuff can cost more. One of the days, Corey and I and his sister Meg and then Josh, we went to the Mount Dandenong Sky High Observatory, I think it's called. It's just like it's a mountain here in town, and we just drove up to the top of it and did a little lookout, and it was really, really pretty. Took some pictures, I'll post. That was just a fun day. We were gonna go to the Hillsville Wildlife Sanctuary, which I was so excited because I was gonna see some kangaroos and koala bears and wallabies and whatnot, but it ended up having a big winery event or a wine event there, so it was way too busy for us to go. So I'll keep you guys updated on that because I'm really excited to go to that someday. So we'll do that when the weather gets nice again. But yeah, other than that, we kind of just hung out, had dinner. I got to meet all of Corey's family eventually, and everyone was really nice, and I just really liked them. I met his grandparents. Oh, one thing I learned, Corey and his mom actually told me this before I came to Australia, but I was nervous about messing this up. So it's technically rude in Australia to refer to someone, so if you're like talking about someone and you're not, if you haven't like directly referenced their name yet, it's rude to call them like she, or yeah, it's kind of rude to say like she or he. His mom kind of explained like, oh, she can go do that, or he can go do that, without like giving them the respect of referencing them by their name. A couple times I was like, oh, well, you just called them she or he, I don't get it. I was just kind of confused. But for example, if I was talking about like my sister Emily, and I was like, oh yeah, Emily did this, blah blah blah, and then I continued to talk about her, then I could say she. But if Emily was just sitting over there and I was just like, hadn't talked about her yet, and I was just like, oh yeah, she, da da da, I don't know. I think that's how it's supposed to be explained. But so I was nervous when I was meeting his grandparents to say something wrong, but I think I did okay. No, I didn't get any dirty looks, so I think I'm doing alright so far with that. So Corey's mom's friend Joanne, or Jo, she's a nurse, and then her daughter, Monique, they grew up and were family friends with Corey and their family and whatnot growing up. So she works at a nursing home here, which they call an aged care facility. And so reached out to her, and she helped me get a job at Clovelly Cottage, which is an aged care facility here in town. It was just for what they call a personal care assistant, which is a PCA, which is basically the same thing as a CNA back at home, like a nursing assistant. So it definitely was not as exciting as a nursing job, but I technically can't work as a nurse over here yet because I don't have my registration transferred over yet. So, but I was really excited to have at least something that I could be doing during the week and work and get some money and just do that in the meantime while I wait for my registration, which can take up to a few months. But honestly, I think that working in the nursing home has been really good because it's helped me kind of with the transition of just people and healthcare lingo and whatnot, and just learning how to talk and the little differences between Australians and Americans. One thing that I really love about working in the nursing home is just the little old people and like their cute little Australian accents. Like I thought that normal Australian accents were cute, but just little old people with theirs are they're even better. Sorry, the rain is really loud right now. They just have like the funniest little sayings too, and it's definitely taken some getting used to what they call different things, like pants are trousers, socks are the same, runners are tennis shoes, a sweatshirt is a jumper. You don't really ever, no one really knows what you're talking about if you say a sweater or sweatshirt or sweatpants. Knickers are underwear. Yeah, I think that's kind of some of the things. Oh, when we're handing out like lunch trays and stuff, a napkin is a serviette, so I didn't know what that was. And then also people have porridge all the time, which I didn't know porridge was just oatmeal. So I thought porridge was some fancy only Australian thing, but it's really just oatmeal, and it's just a lot more common over here, and people put different things on for toppings and whatnot, but it's kind of a normal thing, I guess. But yeah, it's definitely funny, and it definitely makes me understand. I would sometimes get frustrated hearing other people's accents and that I can't understand them and whatnot, but now I can definitely tell that like sometimes when the older people are trying to understand me, they can't really understand my accent, and I totally get it now, and you know, it's just interesting to be on the other side of it, I guess you could say. It makes me appreciate it more. A lot of them always tell me like, oh, you need to slow down talking, and I'm like, I know that I talk so fast, but I just can't help it. I guess we'll go into food, because I was kind of talking about that. Restaurants, you do not tip over here. Coffee is a different thing too. I love coffee. I drink it every single morning. Like instant coffee is a really big thing around here, which was totally fine because I liked instant coffee at home, so I was used to that. But tea is a huge thing. Like people have tea morning, midday, afternoon, and before bed. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is so much tea. Like I wonder how much tea Australians really go through. Each of those, they get their little like biscuits, or they call them bickies. After like a week, I think, 2 weeks after being here, I was able to get a car. So Corey's dad was really helpful. I asked him, because he has a waste management company here and has a bunch of different work cars and trucks and everything, so I asked him for help to try and find a little car that I could use over here, because originally I was gonna wait until we sold my car at home, until after I went back for Kayla's wedding, and we were gonna sell the Jeep, and I was gonna maybe get some money from that to use for a car over here, but it was just way too hard waiting for public transportation and trying to rely on them, because sometimes the buses wouldn't even show up, and I just couldn't really rely on them to get to work and whatnot. And Uber is like $15. It was like $15 for me to get home, so it was just not worth it. I was like losing the money that I made from work just to get to and from work. So asked Corey's dad for some help, and he asked a friend if he had just a little car that I could buy from him. He owned a mechanic shop, so he had a little car that it was the guy's mom, I think. It was her car, so it's just like a little cute little car, and just something super simple, and he just charged me like $2,500 for it, and I just had to go get that. I definitely had to practice driving first. So I get asked that a lot, like how driving on the other side of the road is. The first couple times, well, I actually watched Corey drive a lot before I tried it, just to learn the ways of the road and stuff. And so my first couple times driving, it's honestly not like, it's not as bad as I thought it was going to be. It's really honestly the same as driving back at home, but it's just kind of mirrored. And I find that it's not too bad if you can just follow the traffic. And parking was kind of hard because you're on the opposite side, and it was kind of hard to see where I was. But if you just follow the traffic, it's really not that bad. What I find kind of tough is when I'm like the first at a stoplight or something, or if I'm just driving alone at night. I really have to like focus and make sure I'm turning into the right lane and whatnot. But yeah, other than that, it's really not too bad. The speeds are in kilometers, so that's another thing I have to kind of, but all the car speedometers are in kilometers, so it's not terrible. As of like a few weeks ago, I didn't see any kangaroos, so after a couple of weeks of being here, Corey and I were staying with his mom at first, but his mom and dad are separated, and his dad lives in a house like 10 minutes away from his mom's house, and it has like a separate unit or apartment out back, like that's disconnected from the house. It's kind of onto the garage, you'd say, but that it has a kitchen, a living room, a washer, a separate bedroom and bed and everything. And so we moved into the, they call it the shed, we moved into that like a couple of weeks ago, and his dad lives on like 10 acres, and so it's a little bit further from like civilization, not civilization, but it's just not as busy out here, so we see kangaroos all the time. Kangaroos are kind of like deer for us. Like the deer would just not be running around in the middle of the city, but maybe out in the fields and stuff, and so that's kind of how it is here. And we'll be driving up and down the road, and there will just be like 30 or 40 of them that live in, they'll just be roaming around the front yard, and some days they'll be out and some days they aren't, but they just hop away and do their thing. Some of them can stand up to like 6 foot tall or even bigger than that, and you can kind of tell which one the mom and dad is because they're bigger, and they kind of will be the last ones to run away, and they'll kind of stand up to you for a second and then run away. But they don't really do anything. I haven't seen any like huge spiders or snakes, which everybody was like, oh my gosh, you're gonna go to Australia and see all these crazy animals, but I haven't really seen anything crazy. Also, granted, it is winter over here, so it's too cold for a lot of the bugs and stuff to be out. So I'll keep you guys updated when it gets warmer. I'm sure I'll be seeing a lot more of them, especially out in this more like wooded area. I'm trying to think, I don't know if there's really that much else. I probably did miss a lot of stuff, and I'll add it to the paragraph below if I feel like I missed anything or whatever. And definitely if you have any questions, I think I'm gonna try and set up some question or comment things on here. So yeah, I hope all of you guys kind of enjoyed this, and just kind of a little test run, and we'll see how it goes and see if people like it and if they want me to keep posting things as I go. But yeah, other than that, I'm kind of just hanging out and working and waiting for my nursing registration to come through. I passed my NCLEX. I found out I was able to take it here, so I didn't have to wait to go home to take it. So took that down in the city and passed it. So it's really exciting, and hoping that'll kind of speed up the process of getting my nursing license transferred over here and whatnot. So yeah, not too bad. All right, well, thanks everybody for watching, and hopefully I will talk to you soon.